whatever.
Yeah, you're only exposed when you convert back into cash, but through the institutions.
Let's say you took $100,000 of Bitcoin and you put it in your account, then the government is going to tax you, right?
No.
No?
No, they don't have anything to tax you on.
Oh.
They don't. As long as it's in Bitcoin, and the money that you put into Bitcoin is likely pre-tax dollars, right?
Mm.
It's typically pre-tax dollars. Unless you got some kind of windfall out of the blue and you got $100,000 sitting in your hand, the only way to get that into Bitcoin you'd have to go to someone who wants to sell Bitcoin, $100,000 worth, which doesn't happen likely, and you give them your $100 cash, and then they just send $100,000 of Bitcoin to you. That doesn't really happen. Most people aren't dealing with that much of Bitcoin at once, right? But, you know.
Well, I was just trying to use a large amount.
Yes.
This is transitional, isn't it? Because fiat currency is going away because it can't sustain itself anymore. So this sort of fills that void.
My opinion that fiat currency, the gig is up.
Right.
That's
so
what my
something
idea.
Needs to be in its place, and voila.
Yeah, and we have
people
Bitcoin.
are
I don't think we're going backwards. We're
Right.
not going to go back. You know, some of these guys, they say, "Oh, well, Bitcoin is this, and cryptocurrency is that, and you should don't." What do they expect? Do they expect us to go backwards?
Yeah.
And regress back to fiat currency as our main form of monetary? I don't think so.
Money that comes into this is probably not going back into the fiat system because there's enough ways to use it over here that you don't need to put it back in there and then expose
well, that's good to know.
And that's the reason why Japan figured out how to tax it, and that is they tax it when you buy it.
Mm.
You know, so that way
sort of
they
fair.
don't have to wait for it to come back over.
Which they don't care at that point, long as they get it on the way
Well,
in.
they know that you're probably not going to.
Yeah.
You
See, on the U.S. side, we're known for taxing you on the back end, right? That's the whole model of the U.S.
Yeah.
Put it in, pre-tax.
Yeah.
But when you take it out, we gotcha, right? That's the whole U.S.
It's like
model.
the stock accounts too. Retirement accounts.
Yeah,
So it's
retirement
not
accounts.
jumping back into the same saddle almost as fiat currency business model?
I don't understand.
Well, having is there the stock market involved, just switching it out, but having the same system going on, where eventually 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people, so the monetary system will switch again to 20%.
That's what we're hoping does not happen.
And how can
I
you
see what
avoid
you're
that with
saying.
the lack of in that ceiling of it?
Well, you know, unfortunately, the powers that be, they know
think
how
they
to.
are. Powers that think they are.
The powers that think they be,
Right?
they can do two things. They can influence the market. Warren Buffett goes, be careful of Bitcoin. Jamie Dimon, CEO of Chase, Bitcoin is bad. And all what happens is all the sheeple out there go, oh no, let's sell off our Bitcoin then because the powerful people who
that's
know
why it
more
goes
than
down.
us said this.
What happened to them? It's like they were on a good deal there, and then they went backwards.
And then the market goes down.
Don't they realize?
So
that
that
they're
the
investing?
bankers can buy.
And now the banksters, with all of their billions that they already have, go in and scoop it all up. But then what generally happens is the true market comes back.
Probably even higher.
Even higher.
'Cause they just
Now
gave us
we've sold off all of our wealth. They have more of the wealth, and they have an increase in value. We're back to
so they're
2080, 80-20.
Right. So I see there's sort of
Buy and hodl.
yeah. So what the people who have fiat currency, they have no clue about Bitcoin at all, and the switch changes, and they have a handful of money and a bunch of money in the bank. What's that going to look like for them?
Well, I mean, we're not getting, the end of the dollar is not here. The only way we're going to end the dollar is if it crashes. Otherwise, the sheeple will continue using the dollar for the next 100 years, you know? So while there are convergences happening in the fiat currency versus the cryptocurrency, let's, you know, come on, you know people, they're not moving their money for nothing. They believe in the full faith and confidence of the U.S. government.
Wait a second. Are you familiar with indictments and all that stuff going on?
For which cases?
For there's a whole bunch of them for the powers that think they are being like sort of taken out of the picture like a bad
CEOs
apple.
of big companies.
And political people too, that we are going to, it's going to be hard for a lot of people to even digest how unloyal they were to us and we were loyal to them.
Yes.
So that transition is happening in that arena, which creates the currency arena because they're not going to believe in anything that they represent after what they've been called out for.
Right.
So that's...
Yeah, this could greatly affect the status quo marketplace.
Where
Right.
they don't even have, they have nothing to stand on because fiat currency or their wealth has been frozen.
Yes.
So with their wealth frozen, that sort of stops a lot of movement in the money.
They froze all their accounts.
Well, here's what I think is the real issue is the minute these large, elite, wealthy, evil agenda people are taken out of their position or shown exposed for their true behaviors, their activities and stuff like that, you're going to have an uproar in society, right?
Right.
And here's where the problem's going to be. If trucks stop moving, banks stop lending, stores stop filling the shelves, and mom and pop shops close the doors, and all of this chaos starts to begin because
Because there's a crash.
And then things start to crash. We got some problems, and people with money in regulated environments, you're going to see them lose. But then that's all that really is going to do is it just means that there's a crash happening.
Which there's always the crash before before the rebuild or
Here's
whatever.
a scenario that this Cliff High presented on a video that I watched. He's saying that imagine a situation where you have an environment that we have all this debt in this country, and with the debt in this country, it has to be financed by somebody, and they're starting to realize that there are better investments than that debt, than buying that debt. Countries like China, that has been buying our debt for years and years and years, are now looking away and looking at other things to invest in. So all the debt that this country has, they have to try and get that debt funded. So what typically is likely to happen, according to this Cliff High, is that they're going to have to raise their interest rate. They're going to have to try and attract more of this for people to invest in it. So what's going to happen is that whole inflationary cycle is going to be the digital currencies are going to be the beneficiary of that inflationary cycle.
That's what I'm
That
thinking.
they're going to be flowing into these digital currencies.
2%, like this guy said. 2% of a $200 trillion market.
Because nobody's going to want to be holding the U.S. dollar
That's
or
right.
the U.S. debt, because that's a declining situation.
You've been running on pure enthusiasm.
So what Cliff High said, by the end of this year, he's predicting. Now he has these informational models that he can explain it better than I can. But he said, look for Bitcoin 100,000 by the end of 2018, and then end of 2019, 350,000 on Bitcoin, and the year after that, 1.5 million.
And so that means that the population switching from fiat to
crypto.
Yeah,
crypto.
because they have an inflationary spiral over here with the U.S. dollar. That first off, it's a government they don't respect, and it's
Based on these things that are
debt
coming
ridden.
out.
It's debt ridden that
interesting
nobody
timing.
wants their debt anymore.
Right. They don't
with
believe them.
20 trillion. So they switch into a whole new system that's actually an appreciating asset.
Right.
Because
And it's for community and rebuilding and
And there's no limits to it. There's no boundaries to Bitcoin.
you have
There's-
millions of people using Bitcoin now.
Yeah.
See, the reptilians, they weren't counting on humans to be so clever.
Yeah.
They thought we were stupid.
Yeah. Well, now that they see what's going
They
on,
just said, screw you.
it's
we'll do
called
our own
panic
thing.
management now.
Right.
it's called hold on to your butt, literally.
By the
We're
way-
holding on for the ride. They're holding on to their butt.
By the way, that whole hodl, when you hear us say hodl,
Okay.
apparently somebody put that out.
It's like hashtag me
And
too.
they misspelled it. They're saying best thing you do is buy and they misspell it HODL, and so that it just kind of caught on.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
that's like-
See how we humans are.
Right.
We're creating as we go. Well, that's a
It's a lot. It's a
It's-
lot. The one thing that we can
It's
count
solution.
on, the one thing that we can count on, no matter how this all goes, here's one thing we can count on. We can count on the world is changing right as we sit here.
Right.
Even if we don't see it yet. That blockchain technology is running behind everything right now. Anything that's part of the establishment is transferring over to a blockchain-centric kind of platform. And there's a lot more to all that statement.
yeah.
There's different blockchains, different coins, different applications, different markets, different everything going on in the background of, you know, the real estate industry, the insurance industry, the automobile industry, you know, records like birth certificates and stuff like that.
I lost the page.
All of this is getting ready to run on a blockchain-centric model. So, and people are saying, I've never heard of Bitcoin. It doesn't even matter. Don't worry. Everything is going to be blockchain. Everything is blockchain. Your clothing that you wear is going to have a little tag in it to keep you on a smart grid. All of this is going to be ran by the blockchain technology.
So
So,
we should be careful with that too. I don't want stuff on my clothes.
What happened? I was
And there is the
trying to just
AI.
look up, scroll down.
I don't
somehow.
want to be targeted. I'm going to take that off my clothes.